The NBA playoffs are here, and I'm getting my bets in on FanDuel. Talk to me, Chuck GPT. What do you know?
All sorts of interesting stuff, even Charles Barkley's greatest fear.
Hey, nobody needs to know that.
New customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
21 plus and present in Virginia. Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The Blazers are out of the play-in race, but Joe Cronin gets an extension. What does it all mean for Chauncey Billups? Is he next? All that and more on the latest edition of the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian, here joined by Craig Birnbach. Craig, we got some breaking news. Look, the play-in, we knew they weren't going to make the play-in, although some of us said, I did. I pretty much said they weren't going to, but I was holding out hope to get me through the season, okay? I did do a fact of Fentress where I said that they would probably be tied at some point. That didn't happen because Anthony Davis came back and ruined it. Regardless, they made a nice run, but the big news is that Joe Cronin got a contract extension that was announced Monday. Not surprising that he got an extension. A little surprising when it happened. There was really nothing out there that said that anything was being discussed, but they did a good job of keeping that under wraps. But let's just start with that. All right. First of all, do you think he deserved the extension? And do you think that this means Chauncey Billups is next? Because I think the two are linked. And I think the two are linked because, as I talked about here, as I wrote about, when they were 13-28, Cronin went to Billups, said, we need to be better. We, not you better be better, I'm going to fire you, or not bring you back, but we need to be better. Chauncey got them to be better, which I think helped save, if not completely save, Joe Cronin's job. And then I think in return, that's going to mean that it saves Chauncey Billups' job with the Blazers. What do you think?
That makes a lot of sense. The problem is we don't really know because
right.
We
and
haven't
the NBA
heard
doesn't make any sense.
Right. There's that.
Right,
we can get into that. But we have no idea really what leadership thinks of Chauncey Billups. We now know for sure what they think about Joe Cronin. I was thinking about this. And not only has, Bert Cole and Jody Allen chosen Joe Cronin to extend his contract this time. This is the third time that they have said Joe Cronin is our guy. 1, when they hired him as the interim GM. 2, when they made him the permanent GM. And 3, when they give him a multi-year extension.
Right.
When we don't even know how long his other contract really was, in that sense, right? So to me, this is a clear message that it doesn't matter what you think. Well, what I think about Joe Cronin
anyway.
No, but that they have made the decision that Joe Cronin has done what they wanted, and they think he's done a really good job. Now, I think there's a debate that he has done a poor job in some ways, and there's a debate he's done a good job in some ways. It's not a perfect record by any means. The Denny trade, fantastic. Jeremy Grant signing, awful. So the Dame trade, not great. But Toumani Camara, fantastic. The draft picks, it's still open. Have they cleared out room to make moves and have assets? Yes. Have they gone from a very unathletic, small team to a huge team? I think they're the average-wise, they're the tallest in the NBA. Do they have those big guys that you've been talking about forever? Yeah, they do. Are any of them stars? I don't know. but you can't he's also, one thing about Joe Cronin, he is a great guy. He's extremely likable. He's extremely smart. So I don't have any problem with this. I have a problem with the fact that we still don't really hear from the ownership on what the plan is and what the overall goal is and where they are in that plan, because it comes from Joe Cronin and a quote in a press release from that doesn't make sense. I do think it's interesting that he names Jody and Bert. Joe Cronin did in the press release that he names both of them. But I don't know why Chauncey Billups wouldn't be next. Unless Chauncey Billups doesn't want to be next.
Yes, we'll definitely get into that. All right, so here's my feelings on all this. First of all, I cannot stand firing people for the sake of firing. I believe sports is out of control in a lot of different ways. Some of it's just because someone's got to be punished because we lost, so we got fired. So I don't think Cronin has done anything to not warrant an extension. I think if you make the decision to go with Cronin and the plan is to initially build around Dame, but you're going to clear some things out, which you did, then the Dame thing fell through, but you were cool with that. Like Jody and Bert were there. Scoot, right? They knew what was going to happen. Now they're a little upset maybe the way Dame handled things, whatever, but Dame was 100% in the right in wanting to leave. That's for sure. But they went along with the process that led to Dame leaving. So they can't blame Joe for that. And at the end of the day, there's an upward trajectory. They've gotten better, and he's made enough moves. I forgot
that part. That's a good point. They asked him to get better. Whether we agree they should have, that's a different debate.
Well,
but they asked him.
Yeah, right.
They got better.
Right,
much better this year.
Right, exactly. Yep. So for me, the jury's out, like you said, on Scoot and Sharp. Are one of them going to become a star? You really, really kind of need that to happen. I don't see it with Scoot. I think Scoot's going to be good, not a star. I think Shaedon still has potential. We'll see. Denny clearly is very good. Is he going to be a star? I'm not buying that yet, but he's definitely good.
I think he is a star. He's
not a star. Dude. Come on. Kamara is a defensive star. Definitely, if he's your fourth or fifth best guy, you're in great shape because he's a good 3-and-D guy. So there's some nice things going on there. So yeah, I'm 100% down with extending him. But to me, nothing is getting better or moving forward or happening without Chauncey. And there was a item in the press release talking about improving the culture, establish a culture. That's Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups comes from a place of winning cultures, right? In Denver, in Detroit, with Hall of Fame coaches. Joe Cronin has pretty much only worked for the Blazers. He's never built a culture. He's never developed a culture. Right? So the best thing he did was keep Chauncey and let Chauncey establish the culture. And part of that was holding people accountable. Part of that was dealing with Aiden, what he needed to be dealt with benching Shaedon, with doing the certain things he did to say, we're going to play like this. And if you're not down with it, then you're going to be, quote unquote, not quote, but punished in a way. All right. So they go hand in hand. So I'm cool with Joe getting the extension, but Chauncey has to be next. On that front, there's movement going on in that area. Okay. As I've been told there's some discussions that are already taking place, and we could know something maybe by Sunday, which is the last game of the season against the Lakers. And there's exit interviews after that. And Joe's going to talk. My thing is this. Get it done now. Just get it done so we can all be done with this and move forward. Don't try and let this lag on after the fact, because I do believe, as I've said on this show before, there's going to be there's people out there and teams that like Chauncey, that recognize, unlike part of the fan base, that he's been dealt a horrific hand in Portland in terms of trying to win, and that what he did this year was nothing short of a minor miracle, and how they turned things around and not almost, but got back into the play-in race. And they
played like meaningful games.
Exactly, late in the season after being 13-28, when he was basically said, okay, well, if we have to do better, I'm going to do some things 100% my way, because I'm coaching for my career. If you guys haven't shown,
Yep.
right, you haven't shown faith in me yet to give me extension. I'm coaching for my career, my future. And he ruined the franchise's realistic chances of getting Cooper Flagg. And so if you let him do that and you don't bring him back, I'm going to blast you forever, especially if Cooper Flagg or anyone in the top 4 becomes a superstar. You're going to have to wear that for a decade if you allow this guy to ruin that chance of getting a top pick. Also, let's not forget, Joe Cronin said himself at the end of last season, we need more talent. We're not talented enough. That meant, and then they didn't make one move in the offseason to acquire talent other than Denny, which is not what he was talking about. He was talking about the draft. So you can't let a guy ruin your chance to get a high pick and then just not bring him back. It makes no sense whatsoever. But Chauncey does have interest because the rest of the league recognizes the shit show he was given. And so the fact that he's made something out of it resonates. The Suns were interested in him last year. Why wouldn't they be interested in him again this year if they fire their coach? Who knows? Coaches are being fired left and right. He's from Denver. Could Denver be interested? I don't know. They just fired their coach and GM. Who knows what could come his way? My feeling on this is that Chauncey wants to come back and finish what he started. But if they don't bring him back, I don't think he's going to cry. I don't think he's going to shed one tear. I think he can go do TV if he wants to for a couple of years until another job opens and then take that job. At the same time, if he would have turned down whatever the Blazers offered, I think they could be fine letting him go, hiring someone else, and moving forward as well. I don't think it's a situation where either side is going to be heartbroken, but I do believe that they owe him a legitimate offer because he, as far as I'm concerned, until I hear differently from Jody or Bert, saved Joe's job. So do the right thing. Give that man a raise. He's making about $4.5 million. Give him 6.5, whatever, and let's move forward and let him continue the rebuild that they started together. They started this together. They're in this together. So let them complete it together.
So one thing, Neil O'Shea did hire him, not Cronin. So there's that. There's that. I agree.
But they started the rebuild.
Yes.
Together. Right. That's what I meant.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, let's not forget that Chauncey didn't sign up for this originally.
No, he did not.
He signed up to work with a guy that he knew in Neil O'Shea and with a team that was led by Damian Lillard
and CJ McCollum.
And CJ McCollum that made it to the Western Conference Finals at some point. And they thought they needed one or two pieces and they could actually compete for a championship. That's what he signed up for when he was red hot, when people wanted to hire him as a GM with no experience. Right. And multiple teams wanted to hire him as a coach. And he basically went back to be this, he was in broadcasting, making good money, doing TV. So he decided he wanted to coach. And within 30 seconds, he was one year as an assistant, boom. So let's not forget that that's where his mindset still is. He's not thinking I'm a coach with one of the worst records in NBA history. I'm the guy who won a championship. And when you say he's from Denver, he's like a god in Denver.
Right. He's
from Denver, then went to Denver, college in Denver. He went to Colorado, not in Denver, but in Colorado. Probably, I don't know. I'm going to say this. Is he the best player that ever played in Colorado? He might be. He might be. And that's not bad. He's a Hall of Famer. So it's not like I'm saying, some schmo is the best player. So, and they just fired their coach and they got home court advantage and they won a title 2 years ago. So it is madness out there. So and also if they were going to fire Chauncey Billups, if they weren't going to bring him back with an extension, then why not do it when they were 13 and 28? You know what I mean? Why not?
Why not fire him then?
Then, if you didn't fire him then, why would you fire him now? Other than to save a few $1 million? You're going to sell the team for billions. So that's crazy. If that's how people say, they got a cheap GM. I'm like, if this ownership group or whatever trust is caring about millions, not billions, that's crazy. That can't be the thing when you just paid Jeremy Grant, what you paid him. that you're worried about saving $1 million a year for an experienced GM. That to me is a crazy world. And it's also crazy that, go ahead.
That's what I add to the GM thing. And this is not a shot at Cronin, but if they open the job, do you think there's going to be a lot of more experienced, proven GMs who are going to be like, oh, yeah, I want the Portland job with the way it is right now, with owned by a trust,
ownership,
and a chair
yes,
and Bert control? No. So part of that is this is a perfect situation because Joe is already in house and Joe is willing to take the job because Joe didn't go out to interview for a bunch of jobs and wasn't a top candidate around the NBA. Yep. So he got himself a great opportunity with the firing of Olszewski.
Mind you. Well,
yeah, but I'm saying he wasn't. It was like there's 5 or 6 teams lining up to interview, and I'm not saying that never would have happened. I'm just saying in that moment, this was a great opportunity for him, and these guys stuck with him. And I just don't know if they could go out and get a marquee or even a marquee coach. Again, why would you come to Portland if you have choices? If you're great, you have choices. Why are you picking Portland unless the money is just stupid because it's owned by a trust and you know that Bert and Jody are behind the scenes pulling the strings and you're not sure what their agenda is. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'll agree with all that. I mean, I've been saying that for forever. You know, I've been saying that forever, that its ownership is settled. This is going to be a struggling franchise or they're going to have to get super, super lucky. And then at the height of it, if the whole goal is to sell the team when it's worth the most, it's going to be, if they do get lucky, then they're going to be sold, right? I mean, at that time. But who knows?
And then that owner's going to come in and want to hire their own people. And then, exactly.
Unless you win a title and you can do that. But look, Mike Malone won a title 2 years ago. He just got fired. Yeah. 3 days, 4 games or whatever it is, a week before the playoffs start. Like, it's insane. So,
in the last 4 years, we've seen 4 guys who won championships and or was coach of the year get fired.
Yep. Yeah.
So coach of the year winning a championship means nothing.
Right. The Suns' job might be open from a guy who won a championship from a team that already fired him. So
exactly.
Yes, but I'm just saying, like, if you were going to fire Chauncey Billups when he was doing terribly, that would make more sense than when he is overachieved.
Right. Exactly. Especially, and that's why I say he saved Joe's job. So now
I don't know enough. Like, I see what you're saying, and that those dots line up, but I have no idea what their expectation is. What they asked Joe Cronin to do. Clearly, they asked Joe Cronin to stop losing, which is a weird decision in a year where Cooper Flagg is available.
They asked him to be better, and Joe went to Chauncey and said, "We need to be better," and so they became better.
Right. To me, that's an ownership decision that I would question.
I would
because
too.
you didn't make the play-in, and now Cooper Flagg has no chance to land in your lap, and either does it's
4.5%.
Okay, I'm just saying you're not.
Atlanta got it last year.
Then you're geniuses. But I'm just saying, like,
oh my God, look what we pulled off. We're amazing.
Right, and it's happened, so it's not like it's but. To me, the best way to do it is what the other tanking teams are doing, which is doing everything they can to lose. And that's some of the reason why the Blazers have a lot more wins than we expected, because a lot of teams decided I want to lose. And I will do it. Stop. And I was trying to lose. And
I'm glad you brought that up.
They were in between. I mean, the Blazers did not beat a lot of good teams.
No.
They just
listen to this. Since the 10 of 11, since they won 10 out of 11, they are 2-13 against winning teams. And the 2 wins came against Memphis minus Morant and Denver minus the Joker. That's it. Every other win was, and not only they beat bad teams, they beat some of the worst teams that, like you said, were in complete tank mode. They were trying. They weren't just bad, but
please
they
take
weren't
the
like
lead.
The Blazers. You could call them bad, but playing hard. These teams were bad and sitting dudes, and so they got better, but it's a little bit inflated still.
Of course.
So you and I talked to Bill Orm about this as well. It's mind-boggling to me that whatever decision was made by whom, and I think it was Burton and Jody, saying do better, that they blew their chance at adding what could be a marquee talent in this draft. I think that was foolish. Insane. I think unless they get lucky and jump into the top 4, which they have a 20% chance to do so, I believe, and 20% doesn't sound that bad, really. Then I think that, it's going to hurt.
It didn't make any sense to sell some tickets and get people to watch. Like, did the plan change? Then why didn't you make moves, right? Why didn't you go trade some of these assets? Why didn't you dump, things and clear the way? But also, that's the other thing. Like, we don't know. Like, right now, all the players that are playing and everyone's so excited about, they're playing because Ayton's not playing. They're playing because Grant's not playing. They're playing because Williams isn't playing. Well, all those guys are supposed to play next year right now. So now what are you going to do other than be a little better? I don't know. I mean, Simon's like, you already got a point guard. So where does Scoot move in? That whole point of not understanding of what the actual plan is hard. And that's where the Joe Cronin weirdness gets in. Like, I know you did better, but what is your overall plan? When I look at the overall plan to get to where you said you were going when you decided to trade Dame, which is break it all down so we can build it up and actually go for a championship, because we don't think we could do that with Dame. So we're not going to trade the third pick. We're going to draft Scoot, and we're going to sign Grant, even though there was no way you're keeping Dame. Like, all these things are they contradict each other. So, but bottom line to me is, if I'm Chauncey Billups, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I might be telling my agent, like, hey, you know what? I don't know. Like, now you know him. He has said all the right things. He's done all the right things. And why wouldn't he want to stay? I don't know. You just named a bunch of reasons. The ownership group, the lack of understanding of what our true goal is. We do not have a superstar, right? I mean, he'll find out soon enough if Denver's interested. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to, and if you wait until they reach out, you might blow it. So there's again, you're saying, why do it now to get it over with? Not only that, do it now because what are you waiting for? Nothing's going to change other than he might demand more money to stay.
100%.
I mean, nothing's changing today. Nothing. After they won 10 of 11, they changed the entire trajectory of the season based on what you're saying was a request to Joe Cronin, who said to Chauncey, like, hey, that plan to be his worst, to tank like crazy and be in a top 5 position to get Cooper Flagg and other top players. No, that's not it anymore. We need to be better and win. And he won 10 of 11.
See, so here's the thing though about that. The idea was to thread a needle. Be better, but not too much better. No one expected them to win 10 out of 11. They could have won 6 out of 11, but just looked better.
Right. No.
The problem is Chauncey demonstrated in that 10 of 11 that when, all the shackles were off and he could make this move and make that move and change this and change that, and they could be a lot better. And they were better than they thought they were going to be. And then all of a sudden, oh crap, we're in the play. But so it's funny. Yeah, Bill and I talked about this just an hour ago. So, okay, let's go to next. Let's say they come into next year with the exact same roster and maybe make a couple tweaks. The inclination is a thing. Oh, well, we were 13-28, the first 41, and now we're 22 and whatever, 20. I don't know what they are. In the second half, you put that in the next year. Next year, we could win 45 games. The problem is, San Antonio is behind you. Yeah. Assuming Wemby's fine, who would you rather be, San Antonio or the Blazers? Okay,
if they get Cooper Flagg, and their odds are good, not better.
The Pelicans had the worst injury situation I think I've ever seen. Was crazy.
Every player.
That was crazy. So if they come back healthy and add a nice young talent, they're better than you. So you're 11th right now, but you're 11th because 2 teams who have way more talent than you two suffered massive injuries. And De'Aaron Fox was just added midseason, so they didn't have him all season with playing with Wemby. So those 2 teams are better than you. So now you're 14th because who ahead of you are you better? Now, if Kyrie doesn't come back, could you be better than Dallas? Maybe. Sacramento, I think, I don't know. Memphis, no way. Minnesota, no. So the West is just ridiculous. Utah, they add Cooper Flagg to Lowry because they were clearly tanking. To Lowry and Collins, maybe they make a couple moves. I think you're probably with them, tied with them. Because as much as you love Denny, he's not an all-star. As much as everyone loves Tumani, he's not an all-star. As much as Shaden some nights looks great, he's not an all-star. Scoot's not even your best point guard. Your best point guard's not an all-star. Your center, not an all-star. And he's so up and down, you can't fully trust him. Your new center has some nice things he does, but he's kind of a one-way player right now, and it's not likely to be all NBA, which means your 3 lottery pick rookies, none of them will have been all rookie. Not all NBA. So what really do you have? Now, they do have those picks, the Milwaukee future and the swaps that are very valuable, especially if Dame, heaven forbid, can't play again, right? Or isn't the same guy, and then Giannis wants out, and that franchise sinks. You got those picks. Those are gold. You could probably trade them for someone. But who are you going to get that will come to Portland and want to stay long-term? Because that's always been the problem. You can get stay. They could have traded for Kawhi. They could have traded for Harden. 1-year rentals. So I just feel like they just blew that opportunity. We talked about it too much. Anyway, my point is their trajectory went up, but then it's going to flatline until you get a star. It's going to flatline. It's going to be just like this. And teams are going to race by you. Some are going to fall. Some are just race past you because they have stars and you don't.
And I agree. I've been saying that forever. And it's shocking to me to see and read and how happy people are with the quote unquote improvement. And I'm like, okay, but you also have 4 guys that aren't playing right now that you're paying real money to. And also, with Simons in the way for your number 3 overall pick. So what are you going to do with this logjam? I don't know if Robert Williams can ever play. I don't know. But you can't have Jeremy Grant making that money and not playing. So you got to get rid of him. And to get rid of him, you're going to have to dump him because no one's going to take him and give you anything. The Ayton thing, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with it. You got to keep him probably for 1 more year. So Clinton's not going to play.
He only has 1 year left on his deal. So if you keep him.
That's what I'm saying. Or if you but if you trade him, again, you're not going to get assets for that. So what's the point of trading him? So I just don't know where this stuff moves, in what direction. And while I think players have got better, I think Denny has chewed up really bad teams. He's just chewed them up. He turns the ball over to him. And
guys have been out, which allows him more shots, more opportunities to pad his stats.
Of course. Right. Give the ball to him. Because you're certainly not going to give it to Ayton because he's not there. You're certainly not going to give it to Grant because he's not there. So you're not going to give it to Tumani if he's not out to 3-point land or going to dunk. And also, he's running the point a lot of the time, which is not ideal for the fact that you have Scoot. And Shaedon has had moments where he scored 35 points, but you look at his shooting percentage, and we're still talking about the same exact problem. The guy can't make threes consistently. And to be a NBA 2-guard all-star, you can't shoot 30% from 3. You just can't. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. So we have those problems, and you decided that the play-in was, I know I'm getting old, but when people talk about the postseason, they were playing meaningful games. I'm like, it's for the play-in. It's made up. It's not even real.
It's for the play-in at 10 games under.
Right, I'm like,
and I don't think last year 500. Hold on a second, let me check this out.
It's just they threw this in to. This is exactly why they did it, because they got fan bases that are we're playing meaningful games. Right. I'm like, you're meaningful games. You're 10 games under 500, and you're trying to get into a situation where you're going to get your doors blown off.
So last year, 46 wins got you into the play-in.
Yeah, totally different.
41, Houston just missed. And so the fact that we were talking about a team that's, been 7 to 10 games under that was in it because a lot of teams fell off. And so it's fool's gold, man. It's smoke and mirrors.
Yes.
That's the danger. That's the danger here.
And you're talking about, it's just so weird to me because there are a lot of reasons not to like Neil O'Shea. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a likable character. We both covered him for a decade. It was not ice cream and rainbow.
I only covered him a little bit, but you covered him. I was just around adjacent. here
so it wasn't all, ice cream and rainbows.
Right.
But he got to the playoffs every single year. You know what I mean? And they went to the Western Conference Finals, and the games were exciting, and that wasn't enough. Which I get. We want to be an actual contender for a championship. Now, you're not even the contender for for the 8-9 game. You know what I mean?
For something that was invented to try and keep teams more involved, right? It's not even the players. Like
you're saying, it could be a little better. So even if they went 41-41 next year with this roster,
it might not get him in.
But even if it does, so what?
So what? Yeah,
you're not even as good as you were when you decided to crack this thing open.
No.
And go the other way. So they need things to happen. But again, today, I will say, if you're a Blazer fan, to me, this is good news. Because at least you know Joe Cronin's my guy. Because he has to be my guy. Because he's Jody and Bert's guy. Because they've chosen him 3 times to lead this team. And it's going to be his vision. And I don't think it's a terrible guy to have, creating the vision. And because he's very smart. He knows the cap. And like you said, he's done okay. Great? No, but it's all right. It's better than firing him and gosh knows who you get, right? Who doesn't know. So I'm cool with that. And if you're a Blazer fan, like, okay, at least I now can stop this debate that whether or not Cronin's going to be the guy or not. Because they didn't just do this without thinking that they're keeping him for a while. You don't sign him to an extension. You didn't have to. You didn't have to hire him as the permanent. When you named him the interim, it was the smartest thing to do. But there's plenty of interims. I covered Caleb Canales when he was the interim head coach of the Blazers. He was not going to be the permanent head coach. Like, there's no doubt. You can do that and then get a permanent. They didn't. They chose him. They chose him as a permanent. Now they've extended him. He's your guy. So at least if you're a Blazer fan, you understand that it's wasted energy if I'm not loving it. As far as, saying Joe Cronin deserves, should be fired. He's done all this bad. It's over. He's your guy. And now you decide what you want to do with the coach. And I think we're both in agreement. If you didn't fire Chauncey Billups when they were 13-28, why would you fire him? Why would you not extend him now? And if you don't extend him, you're going to make sure you're going to give him much more power in this situation. If you extend him today or, Sunday when the season ends, before other teams make decisions, because they're not going to hire, they don't have to worry about Denver right now because they're going to go to the playoffs. They're actually in the playoffs, and they can make a run for a title, for goodness sakes. So they don't have to worry about Memphis right now because they're in the playoffs. But if you don't sign them and they get eliminated, phone calls might start coming. And then you're giving Chauncey more power to make a decision. And I don't know what's behind. I just think that some people forget who Chauncey Billups is and the reputation that he has and why he chose the Blazers. Right. He did not choose a rebuild. He certainly didn't choose 3 years of rebuilding, and he done won a fourth. So if it doesn't follow, like right after we stop this, like I'll just be like, what are you doing? Like I was surprised in some ways that they weren't married. That they weren't both announced.
Right.
Because that happens quite a bit. I mean, today we had Denver fire both the GM and the coach. There's a marriage there. I was surprised that it wasn't. But again, sometimes they want to give one guy their day. You know what I mean? They want to do, hey, you get your thing, your day, and then you don't announce 2 extensions of star players. It's a little different on the same day. You give them their day. So,
right.
I feel, let me just say to the people listening, thank you. First of all, we should thank you because I don't know, I appreciate it. But the pain that's gone through Fentress's head, having back-to-back conversations on this with, I believe, 2 people he trusts. And like, even if we don't agree on everything, he believes in both Bill and Mai's opinion that come from a place. To have these 2 conversations might have just scrambled his brain. He might not be able to function the rest of the day. He can't. He's got so much in the head that he wants to spit out. He's not sure all of it is fair. He cursed only once. He did curse once, but he wants to curse more.
I did, didn't I?
They gonna bleep that? I just have a question before we wrap up.
I don't know what our policy is on the S word.
I just want to make clear I did not curse.
I think that's what is allowed here and there if the context is legit.
Not gonna come from me though.
Okay, so give me your, aside from the fact that they finished stronger, and they did better. Give me the things you like about Chauncey that you know for sure as a coach?
So they play hard no matter who's out there. They believe in him, and they never gave up on him. Never. And every single player. Like, he didn't lose anybody. Even the guys like Ayton, who's, he never badmouths him. And he clearly understands when he gets pulled or taken out. Never is there a question about, he's pulled Simons. He's pulled, he's benched Shaedon Sharp. He's benched Scoot. He benched Ayton in games where he's played like no minutes. He's benched Grant. He's, put Klingon in and out, and nobody questions it. And in this day and age, there's so many ways to do that. Social media, hello, Instagram. John Morant questions everything, like in 2 seconds after. So to me, that means the guys that are playing for him believe in his vision, respect him, and do not want to get in a situation where they look like they're at all bad-mouthing him.
Right.
The effort means something. It results in victories. And even though they went 2-13 against winning teams, they stopped getting blown out.
Right. They're in a lot of those games down the stretch.
And against good teams, they lost tough games to the Knicks. They lost tough games to other really good teams. And teams if the team did not play their best players, there was a fight.
Yeah.
And
won
when
two
they
of
did
them, they almost beat Cleveland.
And
twice.
And they don't play embarrassing basketball anymore.
Right.
In the whole second half, they never embarrass themselves. Player development. Sometimes you don't know who to give credit for, but you got to give that coach because the assistants work for him. Tumani, from last year to this year, defensively, I won't give him any credit. He's a great defensive player. But offensively, here's what Tumani, I make fun of the fact that Tumani only shoots threes and dunks. But guess what? He's good at both now. And he didn't come up with that on his own, completely. He was told, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go here. I want you to go there. He is ready he's in position to shoot that three in the corner all the time, at the top all the time. And that doesn't just come because Tamani Kamara figured it out. There's coaching behind that. He has played a rookie center who looked like he couldn't get up and down the court in the first game more than 10 times. He has played as a starter and starter minutes and looked solid. And that's coaching. He's put him in places to succeed. And even Scoot, the numbers for Scoot are not better than last year. They're almost
He's fallen
identical.
off incredibly, yeah.
He has, but
he had that one nice stretch, and then
he had a nice run.
Yeah. Right.
But he has looked less embarrassing at times. No one's saying he's one of the worst players in the NBA anymore, and I think that it's because the coaching staff and Chauncey were like, well, when he plays, this is what he does well. This is what he doesn't do well. Let's keep him out of the situations where he doesn't do well, and also let's put him in when we think he can succeed at times and show out. So I think that to me matters. Guys have gotten better. Denny, he figured out Denny. Like, okay, we don't have this, and this. Unlock it. Go, buddy. Denny. Go. Just go. I don't care if you get 10 turnovers. Go.
If you love Denny, what you've seen from Denny, and you trash Billups, you are announcing you know nothing about coaching and nothing about sports. He saw Denny's potential and his ability to do certain things that he wasn't really allowed to do in Washington. And he went to Denny and said, we want more of this. And Denny was, okay. And he went out and he struggled, right?
Yes.
We saw him struggle. He struggled. Dude was missing layups left and right, or turn it over left and right, or just making bad decisions. It was because he'd never been put in that position before to be that guy, to be basically old school, right? Magic Johnson was a 6'9" guy who grabs a rebound and goes the length of the floor. Yep. Magic Johnson. Denny was a role player on one of the worst teams in the league last year, and your coach is telling you, we want you to do that. Well, he's got to learn to do that. You can't just magically do it like on a video game. You have to learn how to do it because you're doing things you haven't done before. And your reaction is going to be off. Your timing is going to be off. Your vision is going to be off. You have to go through it over and over and over. You're going to get better and better and better. And Chauncey empowered him to do that. Now, he did take him out of the starting lineup because he was really struggling, but he didn't give up on him. He still, I want you to be that guy. And then he kept getting better and better and better. And all of a sudden, boom, he blows up. That's 100% player development, the coach recognizing your ability and getting the most out of you. And so that's what we've seen. The problem is a lot of people have these inflated views of players because they love them. They think they're going to be great. So in their mind, they're going to be great. Therefore, why aren't they great yet? It must be the coach's fault. The reality is, no matter how good you think they're going to be, they start down here and they have to build up to something. And we've seen all or most of these guys, at least, build up to something under this coach, especially when they're what? When they're healthy. Last year, they were all injured. So it's kind of hard to develop guys when you had second in the league and lost games. This year, they were pretty healthy for most of the season, and we saw the growth. So I agree with you said everything I would have said. And to me, that's why you cannot just scrap all that and assume some other person is going to come in here and do the same thing or better. You stick with the plan. You stick with the momentum of what you have going and continue that down the line, not just cut it off at its knees and start over with someone else. That makes no sense to me. So that's why, and I believe they're talking this week. I've been told that there's probably some negotiations going this week. I think they had to get Cronin done first because how can Cronin extend Billups if Cronin isn't extended, right? So I believe it's coming. Like, I think it's coming. And if it doesn't come, it's going to be because of something minutia-wise, minor-wise. It might be money. It might be something, or it might be a situation where Chauncey feels like, you know what? I have a better option. Because I don't believe for 1 second, make this very clear, I don't believe for 1 second that the Portland Trailblazers can move off of Chauncey and automatically hire someone that's flat out better. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, I got to say, if Chauncey Billups is not extended and it's because of the Blazers, not because of Chauncey, that's a mistake.
Yeah, agree.
I mean, I would have totally understood it, at 13-28 to say, we're just going to go with the coach that's the interim and we're going to tank our butts off. And we don't want to do that to Chauncey.
Tank our butts off, get Cooper Flag, and you're not part of our future. Yep. And Chauncey had been like, thank God. All right.
I mentioned Caleb Canales. The year when the Blazers decided to go away from Nate McMillan, they named Caleb Canales the interim head coach. They had seasoned assistants. They had former head coaches there, but they didn't do that because they wanted to lose. They wanted to blow it up. They traded everybody. They wanted to lose. And they put a guy in the situation that could do that and wouldn't harm his career.
Exactly.
And that players liked, so they wouldn't get mad at him, and that he wouldn't really say anything to the media because it worked. I mean, that makes sense. But they didn't. They said win. He did. Now you did. So you're the consequences. The thing about Chauncey is he's gonna have to live with those consequences too. You know what I mean? So don't you want a guy that did it and can say, okay, exactly. Well, some of that's on me. Like if I would have tanked, you would have maybe gotten Cooper Flag. And if you don't have him now, it's because I've coached my butt off and we went 10-11. I think the 10 and 11 matters more than anything else because that was a time when everyone was trying to win and they did. I mean, look, I think having a winning record at home, that's something to be proud of, right? Because that helps if you're selling tickets and you want to have a –
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have a winning record at home. To me, that's something because good teams have to win at home. And learning to win at home and making that matter is a significant learning experience for the younger players.
We must protect this house.
Right. But, I mean, we all know in the NBA that it's hard to win on the road. It's not like baseball. If you throw your best pitcher, your odds are pretty good in any park. It's not. I mean, it affects the refs. It affects the players. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be shocked if Chauncey's not lined up right behind this, then I think we'll have a different podcast.
One more quick thing. Time. So when I wrote the long story I wrote a few weeks ago, I think right after they went on their nice run, I talked in there a little bit about how there had been, some turmoil early in the season with players not understanding their role and who's getting the shots and blah, 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 typical things you hear. And then someone else said to me that there was definitely some players who weren't, who questioned some of the things Chauncey was doing or whatever. And I said to them, like, are these players who like complaining about rolls and shots? And they said, yeah. And I go, yeah, I heard that too. I go, but here's the thing. There's not one player on this roster that has the credibility, the history, or the background to complain about their role. There's not one.
True.
There's not one all-star on this team. There's not one champion on this team. There's not one proven guy who has been a proven marquee guy anywhere in their career ever. The closest is DeAndre, but the team that drafted you number one got rid of you. Why? Because you didn't always play hard. So you don't have credibility to complain about that. So my point being is that this team was a collection of guys who none of them had a track record of success and none of them had really credibility, and they had to be molded and shaped and taught and raised, so to speak, by the only person in the room who did. And that was their head coach. And he got them to buy in and play hard, like you said, and develop and get better and improve in a lot of different directions. And to me, you just got to keep that going, man. Just keep that momentum going and add some dudes to this, and then you have a shot at being in the postseason next year. So, anything else? Will be good.
No, we're good.
You don't want to talk about that amazing game the other day against who'd they play again? I covered it. I forget already. Who was that? Who'd they lose to? Oh, they beat San Antonio. They beat San Antonio.
They beat San Antonio, who was trying like heck to lose. And at one point, they were like, "Come on, guys! Come on, Blazers!"
Did you watch that game though?
I watched some of it.
Did you see Chris Paul take Klingon to school on that? And I'm not digging on Klingon at all.
No, but come on, it's Chris Paul.
No, yeah. But the craftsmanship of that, the 6'3" guy going against a 7'2" guy.
He is not 6'3".
Just complete. No, I said he's pretty tall. I think he's taller than me. I said that. You didn't think he was?
I don't even think he's listed at 6'. I'm gonna look it up.
The craftiness of that was just, I don't know. It was just impressive. But great lesson for Donovan Klingon. All right. That's it with the Blazer Focus podcast. We're going to come back.
They even list him at 6 feet tall. They don't even try to lie.
Oh, you list? Okay.
Chris Paul's 6 feet.
Okay. Then he's 5'11". My bad. Anyway. Hopefully when we come back, it's to talk about the Chauncey extension. Either way, exit interviews are Sunday, and we'll have a lot to talk about after Sunday, no matter what. Thanks for listening to the Blazer Focus podcast. We'll be back soon.